Good morning and welcome to this event marking an important moment in the life of Carleton University, the history of education in Canada, and Canadian journalism. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that Carleton University and this spot is situated on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Nation. My name is Alan Thompson. I'm the program head of the School of Journalism at Carleton University. 75 years ago today, on October 9th, 1945, an upstart institution known as Carleton College, the future Carleton University, established Canada's first journalism school. That moment transformed journalism in this country. Before long, young Canadian journalists professionally trained for the first time in the latest news-gathering techniques, in the ethics of honest reporting, in the principles of powerful storytelling, flooded the country's newsrooms. They helped energize and modernize the news business in Canada and played a vital role in the public affairs of the nation. 75 years later, we continue to play that role. Carleton's Journalism School has a proud history, but our forward-looking mission is summed up in our motto: the future of journalism is here. To help mark this important moment in the life of our school, to celebrate the occasion and to look ahead to the future, I'm so pleased to be joined in person today by Carleton's president, Dr. Benoit Antoine Bacon, and its new Dean of the Faculty of Public Affairs, Dr. Brenda O'Neill. Fourth-year journalism student Benit Brach will join us virtually. We're live streaming this event on Instagram, something that I wonder what would they have made of that 75 years ago. But first, a little more about the birth of Canada's first journalism school. That inaugural journalism class, held on this day 75 years ago, took place in a rented space in downtown Ottawa. The Carleton campus, as we now know it, didn't yet exist, so many of the first classes were held in the community. The first journalism class was presided over by a man named Henry Marshall Torrey, the founder and first president of Carleton itself, and the driving force behind the establishment of its journalism school. There were only 5 students in that first class, 3 women from Western Canada, and 2 men, fresh out of the army after the Second World War. One of those students, Jim Coulter, kept a journal about his experience, providing us with some details about those first classes and how they unfolded. On that day, 75 years ago, Dr. Torrey introduced 2 instructors, a veteran journalist from the Ottawa Citizen and one from its rival newspaper, the Ottawa Journal. Those 3 young women in the class had already earned their Bachelor of Arts degrees elsewhere in Canada, so they needed just 1 year of intensive reporting instruction at Carleton to earn their Bachelor of Journalism degrees, the first ever awarded in Canada. Now that first several classes were held at the old Masonic Hall on Metcalfe Street, a building that no longer exists. But after just a few weeks, the class moved here, to the place we're standing today, the Sunday school rooms of Knox Presbyterian Church, at the corner of Elgin and Lisgar in downtown Ottawa. Indeed, the Coulter Journal vividly describes that first class, held here in the church. Dr. Torrey, he wrote, was on the job early, arranging the chairs and tables and generally floating around in the manner of a concerned hen with unruly chickens. Those first classes were not only the beginning of a flagship program for Carleton University, but also the birth of an important training ground for top journalists and other accomplished graduates who were destined to shape Canada's future. They worked primarily in the newsrooms of the nation, but also in a wide range of fields beyond journalism: politics, law, education, the arts, and social justice, to name only a few. Carleton's journalism program is the oldest and still the largest and best-known journalism school in the country. About 4 decades ago, we added a mass communications program, now the thriving School of Communication and Media Studies, our partner institution at Carleton. So at any other time, we would have been organizing a major in-person event to mark our program's 75th birthday, a black tie dinner or a gala. But these are not normal times as we continue to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic. This is now my black tie. Our anniversary committee had to shift gears from our original plans for that sort of a celebration and a reunion in the fall, but we didn't want this important day to go by unnoticed. That's why we're holding today's small ceremony in strict compliance with public health guidelines as a sort of soft launch for a year of activities recognizing our 75 years. We hope this year will culminate with a major in-person event a year from now, in October of 2021. That's when we'll be able to mark the 75th anniversary of the first graduations from Carleton's fledgling journalism school. It's interesting to note that there were 6 graduates at Carleton's first graduation. 3 of them were from the Bachelor of Journalism program. Now, you might be wondering about this unique podium. It's a floor model Philco radio from the 1940s, the exact period that we're commemorating today. I recently placed it in the front school of the Office of the School of Journalism and Communication, and one of our younger staff members noticed it the other day and said, "Wow, that's really beautiful. What is it?" I explained that this piece of furniture was, in fact, a radio, a telling reminder, perhaps, of the value of looking back at the history of our industry. But this year of events can't just be about nostalgia or celebration. This 75th anniversary finds us at an important crossroads. The media industry that was already in crisis is now grappling with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. This year has brought another kind of reckoning as well, as we finally begin to take steps to confront the systemic racism in Canada's journalism industry and in the journalism program here at Carleton. I make no excuses for the systemic racism that people like myself have allowed to linger here at Carleton, but I pledge that we are now committed to bringing about change. So while we are celebrating and recognizing our 75 years, we're also looking to the future. To that end, we've launched the Future of Journalism Initiative, a collaborative research hub where journalists, academics, and students work together and independently on innovative research projects that further the collective knowledge and understanding of journalism practice. And the first major event during this anniversary year, Carleton's journalism program is hosting an international symposium on October 22nd and 23rd called Journalism in the Time of Crisis, at the intersection of journalism and the pandemic. We'll also mount a series of events recognizing Carleton's role in journalism education and the future challenges for our program and our industry. Annual events that have already become a regular highlight of the year, the Kesterton and Stursburg lectures, for example, will be linked to the 75th commemorations. We'll also create a regular speaker series to tie in with the moment. And all of this, we hope, will culminate with a gala fundraiser and reunion events planned for a year from now. And at the start of the next academic year, we'll be joined by a new faculty member who will occupy the Carty Chair in Journalism, Diversity, and Inclusion Studies, another first for Canada. As I mentioned, Carleton's founding president, Henry Marshall Torrey, was a driving force behind the establishment of the School of Journalism. How appropriate that we should be joined today by Carleton's 15th president, Dr. Benoit Antoine Bacon. Benoit?
Thank you so much, Alan, and thank you for your leadership of our flagship journalism program at Carleton, and notably your efforts toward equity, diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism in the program, in the profession, and in society. Hi everyone, bonjour tout le monde. J'espère que ça va bien ce matin. It's really wonderful to be with you to help celebrate a truly, truly remarkable milestone in the story of our great university. 75th anniversary. I think it provides us with an opportunity to reflect on the tremendous impact of this institution. Not only the program, but the journalistic profession in this country, the impact that it has had on Canada itself. And as Alan said, it's truly remarkable that it started with Philco radios and typewriters, and today we're on Instagram. It really makes you wonder what the profession will look like in 75 years. Carleton's journalism program, like the university itself, was established in the wake of the Second World War. That's meaningful. A lot of universities were founded in the pastoral piece of the 19th century. We're very different, founded in the chaos of war with an ethos of service. I think there was great recognition at that time that journalism would play a vital role in protecting and fostering the democracy that so many Canadians have just sacrificed so much to defend. And this morning I was thinking back to that time and to the conversations that would have occurred between the founders of Carleton, the leaders in the broader Ottawa community, and prominent members of the journalism profession. You can just imagine those conversations. And as Alan just mentioned, the central character in this story is one of my predecessors, the first one, the great Henry Marshall Tory, the founding president of Carleton. Dr. Tory, as some of you might know, incredibly, started out at McGill and then headed out west, founded the University of Alberta and the University of British Columbia, and for the record, he then came to Ottawa, founded the National Research Council, and he was 81 years old when he spearheaded the creation of Carleton's journalism school in 1945. He died only 2 years later, so you could describe this accomplishment as the final act of arguably the greatest institution builder in higher education in the 20th century. And I suspect that members of the School of Journalism would suggest that Dr. Tory saved the best for last. But then as now, partnerships were key. And as it happened, the publishers of both the Ottawa Citizen and the Ottawa Journal sat on the Carleton board. They authorized their senior writers and editors to teach our first journalism courses. They created internships that extended the teaching of students from classrooms to newsrooms and hired several members of the first graduating class. It's a great Carleton story. It's a further reminder of the deep and vital relationship between the university and the broader Ottawa community. We've been serving Ottawa since 1942. It really is a great moment. I'm touched to be here today in this beautiful location to celebrate the founding of a truly, truly special school in a truly, truly important profession. Let me offer my most sincere congratulations to all faculty members, staff, students, past and present, for building the great history, impact, and reputation of our famous journalism program at Carleton. And as Alan said, as we honor the past, we must look to the future. And it's a distinct pleasure today, it's also an honor, to invite Dr. Brenda O'Neill, Carleton's new Dean of Public Affairs, literally a week on the job, talk about the future, to say a few words. Brenda, if you would.
So thank you for that, Benoit, pointing out how new I am at this job already. This is indeed one of my first official functions as Dean of Carleton's Faculty of Public Affairs, and it really is my pleasure to join you today in this event marking the 75th anniversary of Carleton's Journalism School. I completed my PhD at the University of British Columbia, and at one point in my career I held an academic post or appointment at the University of Alberta. After spending time at two of the academic institutions founded by Dr. Henry Marshall Tory, and indeed I completed my dissertation sitting in an office in the Henry Marshall Tory building at the University of Alberta, It's only fitting that I now find myself here with you, celebrating another of his accomplishments at the institution that he founded. When I applied for the position of Dean of Public Affairs, I was already aware of the international reputation of Carleton's journalism school. It's not hard to find the accomplished graduates of this school because they are so numerous. Indeed, since moving to Ottawa, I realized that when listening to the local CBC radio station, you're reminded morning, noon, and night, quite literally, of the impact of the graduates from Carleton's journalism program, their impact on the Canadian media industry. CBC's Ottawa Morning is hosted by Robin Bresnahan. Its noon-hour call-in show, Ontario Today, and afternoon drive-home show, all in a day, are hosted by Rita Chally and Alan Neal. Tune into CBC every evening and you'll hear Nala Ayed hosting the nationwide program Ideas. Or switch to TV and catch The National, where you will find Andrew Chang and Rosemary Barton on the nightly flagship program of the national public broadcaster. Move over to CNN, you'll see Kim Bruneber. Go to TSN, although I admit I don't often watch TSN, sportscaster James Duffy. They're kind of everywhere. Each and every one of these people is a graduate of Carleton's journalism program. And like many, many other journalism graduates from Carleton through the decades, these alumni form a vital function in our society, informing citizens about what's going on in their community, in their country, and around the globe. They shine a spotlight on the human drama that's unfolding in our society. It's not hard to find drama these days. The achievements, the tragedies, the struggles. They invite debate, discussion on the important matters of public concern. They hold our elected officials to account. In short, they breathe life into our democracy. So Carleton's reputation is built on the strength of the fields of journalism, public affairs, international affairs, architecture, high technology, among other areas. The Faculty of Public Affairs, the part of the university that I now have the privilege of leading, is very proud to count the School of Journalism and Communication, now 75 years young, amongst its pillars. And as we look to the future of the school, our faculty and the university, we firmly believe that the next 75 years will demonstrate even more clearly the vital role that our graduates play across a wide range of disciplines in the life of our country and in the world. Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Benoit. Thank you, Brenda. I myself am a proud graduate of Carleton's journalism program, as are many of our current faculty members. And while our faculty, instructors, and curriculum are part of our strength, the real secret to Carleton's success all these years has been its students. The outgoing Dean of Public Affairs, Andre Plourde, said something in his final email that really struck with me. "Students give us purpose," Andre wrote. "The fact that students are here allows us to do so many exciting things in these wonderful jobs of ours. They deserve that we strive to be the best that we can be." And with that, I'd like to give some of the final words today to one of our current students, the president of Carleton's Journalism Society, Benit Braich, who is joining us online.
My name is Benit Braich, and I'm a fourth-year student at Carleton University. Today, I'm going to talk about a generation of journalists that I am proud to be a part of. When we first entered J School, we were told that there is no better time than now to be a journalist. But I am sure that the first students after the Second World War thought the same. That now follows us through our careers. Today, our now is the COVID-19 pandemic. It's racial injustice that continues, climate strikes, gender inequality, but that is just a start. We're learning a lot about the world, but also about ourselves. You see, this generation of journalists is resilient, and we're less afraid to be vulnerable. Let's start with resilience. It's that dreaded question. You sure you want to go into journalism? Isn't it a dying industry? It's nearly 10,000 jobs that were gone in the early 2000s, to the 50 media outlets shut down because of COVID-19. We know, we hear it. And yet we're still here. Why? It's that passion that fuels us. Credibility. It cultivates our careers, and when that's questioned as fake news, we're learning to make careers out of it, like fact-checking. Way to go, Daniel Dale. We're researching different tactics to protect our work against misinformation and disinformation. Our bad breakups with math are turning into our love of data journalism. We're learning about the power of collaboration, that no matter where you are in this world, we can create some great journalism together. It's like the project of implant files. 36 countries, nearly 250 journalists, and some awakening piece of journalism. We're learning different means of storytelling, whether it's community papers, it's national networks, the Vices and Voxes and BuzzFeeds of this industry. We're learning new ways to tell your stories, but also learn about ourselves. Is it challenging? Yes, but there's lots that we're hopeful for. This generation of journalists is less afraid to be vulnerable. Don't worry, I didn't forget what I was saying. I was practicing silence. We use silence to get more out of our sources. Works well for the interviews, but not so much for ourselves as journalists. We spend our careers amplifying the voices of others, but we forget to really talk about our issues, because who really interviews the journalist? But this generation of journalists is learning to hold our institutions and our employers accountable. We're breaking the silence, asking questions like, hey man, why is it that every tenured professor in this department is white? Or there's this piece I want to work on, but my professor or my editor just doesn't get it. Or I have no idea how to report on this community. These are realities coming to the surface. It's movements like Black Lives Matter. It's our own alumni, our students, to newsrooms across. We're making some noise. This generation is saying why we need mandatory Indigenous history courses, why we need more diversity in our schools and in our newsrooms. We're learning to say our names proudly, syllable to syllable. And if it's not race, it's wage gaps, it's mental health. We're saying teach us to tell remarkable stories, but teach us how to recover and heal from them too. We're saying come to the round table and ask us, what can we do better and why? We're revisiting our old friend objectivity and sometimes feeling that extreme objectivity can be harmful to us as human beings and to the communities we cover. Now, our first obligation is to the truth, and while that's not always reflected in a paycheck, it's reflected in the policies we change and the voices we amplify. We will always be storytellers. We stand on the shoulders of our predecessors, whether it's our professors, our IT staff, journalists in the field, to the very few students that started journalism 75 years ago. We're not done yet. We got lots of work to do. But to keep a healthy democracy thriving, we will need to continue to be resilient, less afraid to be vulnerable, and embrace the transformation. Because we know that there is no better time to be a journalist than now, whether it's today, tomorrow, or 75 years forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Benit. And my thanks again to our president and our new dean for joining us here today on this special occasion. Before closing, I'd like to take a moment to thank some others who helped make this event happen today. To our hosts at Knox Presbyterian Church, thank you. To my journalism colleagues, Jenna Lynn Smith and Dave Elliott, who have recorded this event, Randy Boswell, our resident historian, our videographer, Xu Zhanglang, herself a Carleton graduate, one of my former students of whom I'm very proud, and Rose Crossett from Carleton's Advancement Office. Thank you very, very much. In difficult times, I think we managed to pull together something meaningful at a special time and in a special place. Another reminder, I suppose, that the future of journalism is here. Thanks, and have a great day.